What if we were facing the last gasp of an empire that captivated the NBA world? What if what happened on June 23, 2025, represented the definitive end of an era that shaped modern basketball? The news hit the heart of San Francisco's fan base like a bombshell. Kevin Durant, the player who wrote historic chapters with the Golden State Warriors between 2016 and 2019, was traded. But not in the way many had expected. Instead of a triumphant return to California, Durant was sent to the Houston Rockets. The confirmation came from one of the most respected voices in sports journalism, Shams Charania of ESPN. With this, the dreams of a new era of championships alongside Stephen Curry evaporated in the face of the harsh reality of trade negotiations. For years, fans kept hope alive, believing that Durant would return to wear the colors that marked his most dominant phase in the league. That hope gained strength after the Warriors' early playoff exit this year, and especially after Steve Kerr revealed real contact had been made with Durant before the trade deadline. But all the expectations gave way to disappointment. The 2024-25 season was not generous to Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. Even with a roster that included stars like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, the campaign was frustrating: 36 wins and 46 losses. An insufficient performance that didn't even guarantee a play-in spot, and when results don't come, the future becomes uncertain. The firing of head coach Mike Budenholzer was just the first step. The second was even more impactful: the decision to part ways with Durant, signaling a new cycle focused on youth and the franchise's future. In the package sent to the Rockets, Durant was joined by Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. The trade also included the valuable 10th pick in the 2025 draft and 5 second-round picks in the coming years. A twist that, for the Suns, represents a new beginning, for the Rockets, a major reinforcement, and for the Warriors, the loss of a possibility that seemed within reach. It was the chance to relive one of the greatest duos in NBA history, Durant and Curry, that slipped away forever. With Stephen Curry approaching 36 years old and the roster in constant transition, the franchise faces an urgent dilemma. Time is running out to replicate the glory of the past. The indefinite contracts of veterans, the inconsistency of young players like Kuminga, and the need for significant reinforcements place Golden State at a crossroads. How to reinvent a dynasty that has already given so much to global basketball? But this is where the Warriors' story shows why this team is not ordinary. This team was not built solely on talent. It was built on risk, audacity, and innovation. It wasn't the first to attempt the impossible, but it was one of the few to make it work. And even with Durant's return denied, the competitive spirit hasn't diminished. On the contrary, a new possibility began to circulate in the league's backstage, and it has a name and surname of global impact: Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sources close to the franchise reveal that a historic trade is being negotiated, which could involve 4 teams and completely alter the power balance in the NBA. The plan is ambitious, complex, and risky. Exactly the type of move that has always attracted the Warriors' front office. According to the information, the plan includes bringing Giannis to play alongside Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, who is also said to be on his way to the San Francisco franchise. Imagine the formation of a new legendary trio: Curry, with his shooting genius; Butler, with his relentless energy and warrior mentality; and Giannis, the brute force combined with refined technique, NBA champion, 2-time MVP, an unstoppable machine on both ends of the floor. An elite formation capable of rivaling any superteam in history. But for this to happen, the price would be high, very high. Draymond Green, defensive leader and one of the faces of the franchise, would go to the Lakers alongside Daniel Gafford. The Dallas Mavericks would join in to receive Gabe Vincent and capitalize on draft picks. And the Milwaukee Bucks, of course, would need to be convinced with a robust package: Jonathan Kuminga, Austin Reeves, Brandon Podziemski, Trace Jackson-Davis, and multiple first-round picks. A trade of this magnitude doesn't materialize overnight. There are interests at play: contract clauses, salary cap limits, and the huge risk of destabilizing the entire structure of a winning team. Still, the reward seems too tempting to ignore. Giannis, at 29, is at his physical and technical peak. His arrival would change everything: playing style, defensive identity, offensive impact, and leadership presence. However, every star comes with a cost. Draymond Green is more than just numbers. He is culture. He is living history of Golden State. Letting go of him would sever an emotional bond with the most loyal part of the fan base. Kuminga, still developing, carries the symbol of renewal. Reeves, who grew up under the spotlight of Los Angeles, brings youth and clutch moments. All would be sacrificed for an all-or-nothing gamble. And this all-or-nothing echoes through every corner of the Chase Center. Because it's not just about winning. It's about leaving a legacy, honoring what has been built, and not allowing the cycle to end with a lament. Stephen Curry knows this. Jimmy Butler does too. And Giannis, more than anyone, is ready to lead this new charge. But there's a dilemma. How much is it worth sacrificing the future for one more year of glory? The draft picks represent the possibility of continuity, of keeping the flame alive when the veterans retire. Losing this capital is putting oneself at risk down the road, in a league that's becoming increasingly demanding in terms of salary cap balance, talent development, and sustainable construction. From a technical perspective, Giannis's arrival would transform the Warriors' style. The team would have a dominant force in the paint, but would need to adjust its system based on spacing and continuous movement. The defense would gain rim protection, but would require adjustments on the perimeter. And the offense would shift to focus more on physical play and transition. Mike Brown's coaching staff would have a new puzzle on their hands: how to extract the best from three superstars with such distinct playing styles and still maintain the depth needed to sustain a long and grueling season. How to integrate veterans hungry for titles and young players eager for space. How to avoid repeating past mistakes. This potential trade with Giannis at the center of the conversation represents, above all, a crossroads, a watershed moment for the franchise. If it materializes, it could be remembered as the final great act of a team that marked an era. If it fails, it could cost years of rebuilding and frustration. It is at this crossroads that the Warriors' fate is being drawn. But one thing no one can deny: Golden State has never been afraid to take big risks. It was like that with the trade for Andrew Wiggins. It was like that when building the superteam in 2016. It was like that when trusting Curry's impossible shots when everyone said it wouldn't work. And it's like that now, with a new page about to be written. With or without Durant, with or without Giannis. If this trade actually goes through, it will not just be another transaction among many in the NBA. It will be a milestone, a statement of intent, the kind of decision that separates franchises that merely participate from those that want to make history. For the Golden State Warriors, this potential move for Giannis Antetokounmpo could mean either a glorious continuation or an irreversible collapse, and it's that fine line between absolute success and quiet ruin that makes this story so fascinating. Behind the scenes at the Chase Center, things are already heating up. The pressure on the front office is immense. Some argue that the time is now, that Curry deserves another real chance at a title, and that surrounding him with players of the caliber of Giannis and Butler would be the fairest way to end his legendary career. Others, however, urge caution. They fear the cost of this move may be too high, not only technically but emotionally. It's not easy to mess with symbols. It's not easy to cut such deep roots. Stephen Curry is undoubtedly the gravitational center of this entire project. Everything that revolves around him needs to be carefully planned. He's still playing at an absurd level despite his age. His presence on the court elevates his teammates, but he can no longer carry the team alone, as he has so many times in the past. Time is taking its toll. And that's why the arrival of someone like Giannis seems like the ideal extension to keep the competitive fire burning. It would be like adding dynamite to the fire. Jimmy Butler, with his combative stance, strong personality, and history of clutch playoff performances, emerges as the third link in this chain. He would bring intensity, aggression, and vocal leadership, elements that after Draymond Green's potential departure would be sorely missed. Butler is the type of player who transforms a locker room, plays hurt, and fights for every possession. He's the ideal partner for Curry on a final journey. But on the other side of the scale is the youth that would be sacrificed. Kuminga, Podziemski, Jackson Davis, Reeves, they all represent the hope of a new generation, the post-Curry future. Losing these talents now is like betting everything on a single roll of the dice. It could work out, but it could be costly. And if there's no title, what if the chemistry doesn't work? The window of opportunity, in this case, would be minuscule. There's also the emotional factor. The departure of Draymond Green would deeply shake the heart of the fan base. He's the spark that has always ignited the Warriors' defense, the guy who pounds his chest, throws himself on the floor, provokes opponents. Losing Draymond would be losing the team's combative identity. Even with all his behavioral issues and technical fluctuations, he's a living legend, a link between the past, present, and, until now, the future. For the Milwaukee Bucks, the trade would mark the end of a successful cycle. Giannis has already won everything with the franchise: a title, MVPs, defensive honors. But the feeling of stagnation is real. In the last 2 years, the Bucks have underperformed in the postseason. The chemistry between Giannis and his teammates has waned, and the arrival of new young talent would be the ideal way to prepare for a new project, one that is more agile and flexible. Kuminga and Reeves would be central pieces in this new core, alongside rotational players and valuable draft picks. The Lakers, receiving Draymond Green and Daniel Gafford, would bolster their front court and bring more aggression to their defense. It's a move that makes sense if the team continues building around LeBron James for one more season. Draymond would bring the leadership and intelligence that fits LeBron's style of play, creating a fearsome defensive unit, even as LeBron enters the final stages of his career. The Dallas Mavericks, in turn, would take the opportunity to gain future assets and reposition themselves in an increasingly competitive market, adjusting their roster around Luka Doncic. Gabe Vincent would add depth, while draft picks would provide flexibility for future trades. Thus, each of the 4 franchises would gain something of value, but for the Warriors, it would be all or nothing. And in this tense and expectant scenario, the blue and gold fan base finds itself immersed. Every rumor, every insider tweet, every move made by the front office is analyzed under a microscope. Anxiety takes over. The possibility of seeing Giannis at the Chase Center alongside Curry is too alluring to ignore. But the emotional and strategic cost is so high that the fear of failure hangs over everyone. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry continues to train. He keeps smiling in interviews, but he's also counting down the days. Every season could be the last at his peak, and the front office knows this. That's why there's no room for half measures anymore. Either you dive in, or you slowly say goodbye to the dynasty. And for the fans, the anguish mixes with hope. They know they are at a crossroads, a point of no return. The final dance of a golden generation may be orchestrated behind the scenes right now, and every player involved, every choice on the table, every phone call between executives could change everything, forever. And you, fan, are you ready for this transformation? Are you willing to see the end of an era to begin a new one? Giannis, Curry, and Butler. This is the trio that could put the Warriors back on top of the world. But it's also the trio that could jeopardize everything that has been built with so much sweat. It's a risk, but maybe the only one worth taking. With the eyes of the world focused on San Francisco, the Warriors' front office knows there is no room for hesitation. Basketball is a game of details, and the line between glory and regret is too thin. A wrong decision today could mean years of mediocrity tomorrow. This is why a potential trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo represents more than just a market move. It is an identity choice, a cry of resistance against time, which insists on advancing over one of the greatest dynasties of the modern era. While the backstage remains silent, as great business demands, the effects of this possible move are already being felt within the locker room. The young players mentioned in the rumors live in a mixture of anxiety and expectation. Jonathan Kuminga, for example, recently made no secret of his desire to become a central piece of the Warriors' future. But he also knows the market is ruthless. And as promising as he is, Giannis's value speaks louder. Austin Reaves, on the other hand, has consolidated himself as a reliable player with a strong personality in decisive moments. His presence in the package shows that Golden State is not only thinking about now, they are willing to give up a carefully planned transition strategy. Brandon Podziemski and Trace Jackson-Davis, still in the development process, would also be included, showing how comprehensive this deal would be. It wouldn't just affect the top of the roster, it would change everything, from the foundation to the ceiling. Within the organization, there is no shortage of voices with differing opinions. Part of the coaching staff sees Giannis's arrival as the perfect opportunity to transform the team defensively. A player who can guard all positions, intimidate inside the paint, and at the same time lead transitions like a point guard. The fit, although challenging on paper, would be revolutionary on the court. But there are also those who question, how will three strong leaders like Curry, Butler, and Giannis coexist? Who will give in? Who will take control in the final moments? This kind of question can't be answered with statistics. It's about chemistry. It's about ego. It's about knowing how to share the spotlight. And this is where the Warriors believe they have an advantage. They have built a culture where the collective comes before the individual, where even the biggest stars submit to the system. But Giannis is not just any player. Neither is Butler. And it is at this point that the leadership's work, from the front office to the bench, will be tested like never before. Mike Brown, an experienced coach, has already shown that he knows how to handle big names. His track record is respected, and his voice echoes in the locker room. But this setup would require him to have a level of emotional management above average. It would be like conducting an orchestra of geniuses, each brilliant in their own way, but needing to play the same symphony. And the NBA season, long and cruel, leaves little room for mistakes. The fan base, divided, is trying to prepare for any scenario. Some are already creating montages of Giannis wearing the blue and gold uniform. Others, more nostalgic, don't want to say goodbye to Draymond, Kuminga, or Reaves. For them, the future should be built with patience, without haste, respecting the natural transition. But time, for Curry, is no longer an ally. And this urgency contaminates every decision made by the higher-ups. Meanwhile, the other franchises in the league are watching. The NBA has seen super teams being assembled before. Some have failed, others have dominated, and every move the Warriors make influences the behavior of their rivals. If Giannis really ends up in San Francisco, it could trigger a chain reaction. The Celtics, Nuggets, Heat, Clippers, all may start to make moves. The balance of power would be reshaped. Sponsors are also paying attention. Giannis, in a market like San Francisco, alongside Curry and Butler, would be a gold mine in terms of marketing. Products, ticket sales, broadcasts, social media engagement, everything would spike. The Warriors' image, already one of the strongest in the league, would become even more valuable globally. The impact would spill over the four lines and directly affect the franchise's commercial side. But more than anything, this trade would place the Warriors back at the center of the narrative, at the main stage of the NBA. They would no longer be just the survivors of a dynasty. They would become the protagonists of a new era, an era where, once again, they defy logic and bet on the improbable. And this, perhaps, is Golden State's trademark. From the time Steve Kerr decided to revolutionize the offense with three-point shots from anywhere on the court, to the present, with Curry defying time with his genius. The history of this team is made of risks, of unpopular decisions, of leaps of faith. And now, the leap would be to try to fly high once more before the wings begin to weaken. For young fans, this would be a chance to witness something grand being born. For the veterans, it would be one last act of glory. For the executives, a test of vision, boldness, and courage. And for the rivals, a warning. The Warriors, despite all the doubts, are not dead. They are alive, hungry, and ready to make one more move that could, once again, change everything. Kai Sotto, at 22 years old, is an athlete with an impressive track record, something that grabs everyone's attention. His size is remarkable, but what truly makes a difference is the combination of this attribute with his skill and agility. With a clear mastery of the paint game and an offensive ability that stands out, he is the type of player who can make a significant impact on any team. When we consider his qualities, it becomes evident that we're talking about a center who is not only a rim protector, but also creative on offense, making him a real promise for the future. However, his stature and talent are only part of the challenge. The transition to the NBA is a tough process that requires much more than one might expect. The intensity of the league, the speed of the plays, and the physical demand are levels higher than those found in any other basketball league in the world, and this presents a huge challenge for any young player. If Kai Sotto were to be signed by the Golden State Warriors, the implications go beyond the court. The Bay Area, where cultural diversity is a trademark, has a significant Filipino community. Kai's presence as a Filipino would not just be another addition to the team, but a symbol of pride and representation for millions of fans around the world. His impact could be felt not only on the court, but also in the hearts of the fans. Imagine the energy at the Chase Center upon seeing this player, who represents a segment of the global population with so much passion. The Filipino fan base, with its contagious enthusiasm, could transform the atmosphere, creating a unique vibe at every game. Furthermore, by attracting more international attention, the Warriors could expand their brand to unimaginable levels, reaching new markets, especially in Southeast Asia, where basketball has been growing significantly. The entry of a young athlete into the NBA is always a moment filled with challenges, and with Kai Sotto, it wouldn't be any different. The league demands more than just natural skill. Consistency and defensive agility are equally essential. Although the athlete has shown potential at various times, his experience in the Japanese league demonstrated that there are still adjustments to be made. Moments of brilliance are clear, especially on offense, but the NBA's level is unforgiving, and every weakness is quickly exploited. Kai will need to improve his adjustment to the fast-paced rhythm of the league and refine aspects of his game that may be vulnerable. As much as the NBA is a trial by fire for any player, the good news for Kai is that the Warriors, a franchise known for developing talent, could be the perfect environment for him. Under the guidance of great sports legends like Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, along with a highly qualified coaching staff, Kai could evolve in impressive ways, learning and absorbing as much as possible from those who are references in global basketball. However, the pressure to be ready to contribute will be immense. Every spot on the Warriors roster is valuable, and the team aims to win more titles now while preparing for the future with promising young players. Therefore, Kai will need to quickly show that he's ready to be an important piece in the team's pursuit of their next championship. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep up with more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll stay updated on everything happening in the basketball world. Oh, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to get notified whenever a new video is posted here. Leave your comment too, we want to know your opinion. See you in the next video.